Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review from Naruto chapter 670. And if you've watched any of the videos I put up this week, then you know how busy I've been, and that's why this review is up so late, because I've just been swamped with schoolwork. There's nothing I can really do about it. Hunter x Hunter review, I'll just do a double review next week. Same with Magi. Bleach, Bleach and Yamada and the Seven Witches, they should be up later on tonight. But this is my chapter review for Naruto chapter 670. This will probably be a pretty analytical review. It starts off with Naruto waking up inside of his inner world, and he asks himself, you know, am I dead? Like, what's going on? And we see Hagoromo there, the sage of the sixth path, and he says, and he starts talking. He starts saying, you know, actually, it's pretty impressive. This kid's pretty impressive. He's adjusting so easily and so quickly to death. So it's impressive just how time can change your views on a topic such as that, you know, and it's interesting. And then once Naruto actually recognizes that he's there, he says that he'll answer all of Naruto's questions, but at first he's wondering if it's actually a good idea to introduce himself, because if he does that, then that could affect how Naruto feels about what Hagoromo himself is actually saying. It could actually influence his opinion on the matter, which is like actual psychological stuff right there. Like, that's not some random thing that Kishi made up to sound cool or sound complex. It's like actual psychological it's just an actual psychological terminology there. Like what he was using is called the elaboration likelihood model. Right, I'm reading this like straight off of my psych notes. Okay, Hagoromo was talking about that, the elaboration likelihood model, and essentially what it is it's a model explaining two ways in which persuasive communications can cause attitude change. The first is the central route to persuasion, and that's when people are motivated to actually have the ability to pay attention to the arguments being made. The second is the peripheral route to persuasion, and that's when people don't pay attention to the arguments being made and instead are just swayed by surface characteristics. For example, if Naruto finds out that Hagoromo is the Sage of the Sixth Paths, he'll just say, oh wow, this guy's the Sage of the Sixth Paths, he must be right, which is what his predecessors did. But Hagoromo doesn't want that. He wants Naruto to go down the central route to persuasion and say, hey, he wants Naruto to actually listen to the arguments being made and then make his own decision on whether or not what he's saying is right, you know, and stuff like that. So that's what Hagoromo is referring to when he says he doesn't want Naruto to be affected like his predecessors were by his identity. Right, so that's not like some random stuff that Kishi made up to sound complex. It's like actual psychological stuff. But in the end, he does decide to say his name. However, that doesn't mean anything to Naruto. I remember Madara mentioning it before, but I don't remember if Naruto was there to hear it. He might have been busy doing something else. I don't remember, but I remember him saying it before. Also, Hagoromo's staff, it's actually a combination of Obito's and Madara's. You see like the half moon there on one end, but you also see the Onmyoji-like staff head on the other end that Obito had. So that was interesting to see. It's a combination of both. Also, Hagoromo mentions that he has the ability to pretty much see the future and like have premonitions and things. He takes a look at Naruto, listens to what he says, and he says that Naruto is actually a very good judge of character. He's good at judging people. It's just that he can't judge himself or his own situations. So that was interesting here too. And he also ends up saying that because what he's been saying some like really complicated stuff, and Naruto's too stupid to actually like understand him. So he tells Naruto that like, you're here looking for answers. You're asking me questions. You want answers, but without me understanding your values, without you understanding my values, you won't be able to understand what it is I'm actually saying. All right. But like even then, that's still too complex for Naruto to actually understand. So he tries to get him to change the way he's talking so that it's easier to understand. This was hilarious. Hagoromo tried to sound hip. He was like, "Whoa, like for reals? Then I'ma do this. Like, you feel me?" Like he was saying all this crazy like Killer Bee stuff. It was hilarious. All right, you know what I'm saying? It was hilarious. And Naruto's facial expression, it was hilarious too. He's like, "Yeah, this dude sounding pretty creepy right now." It was hilarious. But eventually, Hagoromo manages to get it right, and he actually introduces himself fully this time, and as the Sage of the Sixth Path. And one of the things he says is that he's pure chakra. All right, which explains how it is he can appear in front of Naruto like this. His chakra manifested inside of Naruto, just like Minato's did, just like Kushina's did, just like Sasuke's did. Because remember, Sasuke did this back in the beginning of Part 2, the first time he met Naruto. Naruto was going to use the Nine Tails power, and Sasuke manifested his own chakra inside of Naruto's inner world using a Sharingan. And that's when Kurama saw Sasuke and said, "Oh, those eyes remind me of Madara, of Maru Uchiha." Sasuke was like, "Don't know him." Then he squeezed he squeezed Kurama's nose, and then like all the bubbles like burst everywhere, and Naruto couldn't use the Nine Tails power. So like you've seen this before. This explains how Hagoromo can actually appear inside of Naruto's inner world like this. And I would assume that when he split the Ten Tails into 9 different beasts, 9 different tailed beasts, he also pulled a Minato and Kushina and inserted his own chakra into all 9 of them. That way, if they so chose, they could give that chakra to someone who they figured out was the reincarnation of Ashura or Indra, and Hagoromo could be able to have this conversation with Naruto that he right now. So to me, it makes perfect sense. I don't know, maybe some people don't think that, but to me, it makes perfect sense, and I think I explained it well enough to prove that it does make sense too. But after he mentions the whole thing about him being pure chakra, he also mentions that he invented Ninshu, which we heard about from Madara. And he also makes it very clear that there is a difference between Ninshu and Ninjutsu. Okay? Remember that not too long ago, Madara said that it's chakra and ninjutsu that is causing all the trouble in the world. Alright? And that the Sage of Six Paths was the one who created all that. But Hagoromo, he says, no. Ninjutsu, that is not what I created. Ninjutsu was created for war. What I created was Ninshu, and that was for hope and peace. Okay? So you make sure to make a clear distinction between that. And what that makes me think is that maybe while Naruto is in this world talking with Hagoromo, maybe Hagoromo will teach Naruto some ninshu that could actually be used to defeat Madara, or at least help defeat him, you know? So, I mean, and also, there was this panel where Hagoromo said, "There's something I want to entrust to you." So it really could be knowledge of ninshu and different ninshu techniques. Right, so that's what I'm thinking right now. That's what I'm thinking is going to come of this. Alright? But after this, he ends up telling Naruto's story pretty much. He said Naruto wants to know how he can get out, but he says, "No, I can't do anything for you to get you out of here. Only the people on the outside can do that. But what I can do is tell you things that will be useful." So that's what he does. He starts by talking about his mother, Kaguya, and I swear this seriously, alright? Kaguya. This chick looks exactly like the freaking Reaper Death God from the Reaper Death Seal, alright? Like, no joke. Seriously. Looks exactly like her. Alright? I swear, if you put a mask on this girl, that's exactly what she'll look like. I'm sure if the Reaper Death God were to take its mask off, it would be Kaguya's face underneath. Alright? I'm pretty sure. Actually, I'm interested. Watching Minato like use the Reaper Death Seal, like the mask comes off, and you see like Kaguya versus Madara, some crazy guy like that. That'd be funny. That'd be hilarious. But yeah, Kaguya. Pretty sure that's who she is, and she was even called a demon at one point too. She was called a goddess too, but she was called a demon too. So maybe there's probably some truth to her being the Reaper Death God. Well, the thing that we learned about Kaguya, we learned some stuff that we already knew, but the thing we hear about her here that was actually news was that she didn't just have one child, she had 2. Alright, she had 2 sons, and which means there might be some other clan out there with some OP powers and abilities that they got from Kaguya. Like that. Watch out, 10-10 and Sakura are coming. They're going to defeat Madara. I'm telling you, they're going to do it. Some OP clan is going to show up, like Yamato. Yamato is going to come out there with like wood style. Who else is a character that never does anything? I say Sakura never does anything, but she does. She's very useful. Best doctor in the freaking series. But whatever, you get the joke's done. It's over with. there's no other clan is going to show up, I'm pretty sure. But if they do, I'm still going to say I told you so. Um, what surprised me about this story is that it wasn't just Hagoromo that beat the Ten Tails. It was both sons. Both sons feel the Ten Tails inside of themselves. So like how Kurama's chakra was split into two. That's probably what they did for the Ten Tails. So maybe actually there is some truth to that. Maybe there really is some other Ten Tails like chakra out there or something like that. Um, I don't know. It's possible if both of them had the Ten Tails inside themselves. After that, we don't know anything else about the other son, about the other child. Hagoromo just stops talking about him there. And he switches to his own kid, saying how his first son was Indra, his second son was Ashura. Indra was OP, Ashura was a loser, pretty much. And you can see Indra's eyes. It's clear Indra is the one whose descendants ended up becoming the Uchiha clan, and Ashura's descendants are the ones who became the Senju clan. And we start hearing about Ashura, and he wasn't nearly as talented as Indra was. Like I said, he was a loser, so he had to work hard and train and train and train, and eventually he was able to gain the same battle strength as Indra. His abilities finally awakened, and he was able to gain the strength that he worked so hard for. All right. And the only reason he was able to gain that strength is because he had people around him to help push him up to that level, right? And you're listening to this, or you're reading this, I should say, and you can't help but think about Naruto. The parallels here are intentionally there. They're intentionally there. And we learn later on in the chapter that Naruto is the reincarnation of Ashura. Okay, so so all this stuff that's been happening in Naruto, it's because it's the influence that Ashura has had on him that has, well, if I say it like that, it'll sound like Ashura was keeping him down on purpose, just so that he could end up, that way his path could go just like his. But the way Naruto's life went is basically because he's the reincarnation of Ashura, essentially. Alright, and what ended up happening was that Hagoromo saw how Ashura grew, how it was the strength of others that allowed him to become what he was, and reach the level of Indra, and he realized that that was the type of person he wanted leading Ninshu. Alright, so he made Ashura the new leader of Ninshu. Alright, and the fact that Ashura became the leader of Ninshu makes it likely that Naruto is going to become the new leader of Ninshu, and that Hagoromo is going to teach him Ninshu in order to beat Madara, which is what I was saying in the beginning of the review. Alright, so that's some more proof for it. Alright. When Ashura was made leader of Ninshu, it made Indra pretty jealous and angry, and that's when this cursed fate that the Uchiha and the Senju have started. That we learned about this a long time ago, long time ago. How generation after generation there are always these wars, these fated battles between the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan, and that the representatives of those battles in this generation were Naruto and Sasuke. Alright, this is something that we've actually known for a while. It's just we didn't realize that they were the legit reincarnations of Hagoromo's sons. Right? We didn't actually know that. What I assumed originally was that it's just fate itself is causing these two groups to clash, but I didn't know that, like, I thought it was just fate was choosing two people and they had to clash. I didn't think they were like legit reincarnations, As some people, after a while, a lot of people started to assume that that Naruto was the reincarnation of Hagoromo himself. So the whole concept of reincarnations isn't exactly as surprising, but it's still a curveball because it's not Hagoromo, it's Ashura, which means that Sasuke is likely the reincarnation of Indra. He kind of has to be. Okay, so yeah, I really like this chapter. I really did. If you're the type of person who's really bored with Naruto and you don't care at all, then you probably only care about fights right now. That's all you care about. So you're gonna look at this chapter and say it was boring, but that's just subjective stuff. A chapter being boring is purely subjective. That's just opinion. I'm looking for like objective quality. That's what I'm looking at. And this chapter was great in that regard. It did a ton of stuff. It brought in Hagoromo. We learned about the history of his family, of his sons, the start of the fated battle between the Uchiha and the Senju, the history of the Naruto world. Naruto got character growth through Ashura and Hagoromo, plus Sasuke as well. You see, Ashura's story and how it's going to influence Naruto. The hints that Naruto will become the new leader of Ninshu, and get these and learn these techniques from Hagoromo. You look at how Ashura has affected Naruto in the past, and you see how Naruto started off as this guy, this no good kid that couldn't do anything and he was weak, but he worked hard. He worked hard. Eventually, people saw that and he began to earn favor with people because they saw how hard he worked and how his working hard was what allowed him to become stronger. And he was able to win over people like Neji like that, right? And Nagato. And the more allies he got, the stronger he was able to get. And now we see him at this level he's at now. And that's not because he's a god, he's the Messiah protagonist. It's not because he's the main character. It's because he worked hard. And through the teachings of his comrades, through his comrades being in danger and him being forced to evolve, through all of this, that's how he was able to become the strong. It's like the eighth opening of Naruto Shippuden. Watch that. That's exactly what you get here. Okay, you see in the eighth opening of Naruto Shippuden, Naruto is falling. He's falling through the water, falling, sinking, and then all of a sudden, all these people from the Leaf show up. Kakashi, Sakura, Sai, Hinata, Shikamaru, Ina, Iruka, all these people. They show up and they start to support him. They start to support him and push him higher and higher and higher, and eventually he's able to climb to new heights, get above water level, and be on a level much, much higher than Sasuke, someone who's still in the water because he doesn't have anyone to support him, which is just like what we saw with Indra here. We see that picture of Ashura and a bunch of people behind him, but Indra, he's all alone. All right, so, I mean, you look, I thought actually this chapter I'll give this chapter 9.5, just like I did last week. This chapter didn't have the action that last week's had, but it had the story development and the character development, hints towards the future and what's gonna happen. It was beyond great. It's a 9.5 out of 10. All right, that's just how good this chapter was. All right, again, if you're only looking for fights and you can't like, I don't want to sound like insulting or anything, but like if you're not trying to understand the concepts in Naruto, then you're not going to like this chapter. But objectively speaking, this chapter was quite close to being amazing. Better than, at the very least, it's better than great. Okay. I mean, I actually had a conversation in the J room about this, about how Naruto is much more complex than people give it credit for, because they don't want to think about the possibility of Naruto the series actually being complex when it really is. It's more complex than Bleach at the very least, and One Piece. One Piece has on that. Now, let me not even get into that. This is a Naruto review. All right, that's it. That's it for this review, guys. This chapter gets a 9.5 out of 10. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.